What's good, everybody? Welcome into DTL Golf. First and foremost, we apologize for the wait. We apologize for the tech. But when you got three of the greatest minds in golf today, I tell you what, they're going to make up for the fact that we can't figure this out. But we're going to make lemonade out of lemons, just like my man Robert Damron said. So let's not waste any more time. The biggest event on the PGA Tour schedule, we call it the Players. 144 players are going to be teeing it up this week. Let's bring in the stars of the show because they're here all day long. And look what we have. Steve Scott, my man RD, who I was with all last week at the API. And, of course, Fat Steady Fernandes, also live from Orlando. Gentlemen, let's go around first and foremost. This is the biggest week of the year. And so, RD, let me start with you. When you think of the players, what do you think of?
You know, I hate to say fifth major. I really do, because it's its own tournament. It's the biggest field in golf. It's the hardest field in golf. Is that debatable now? Maybe, because Liv snatched so many great players. But typically over the years, it's been the best and biggest field in golf, and a course that I absolutely love. I know there's a little bit of mixed feelings if you ask person A or person B, whatever. I think it is brilliant. I think Pete Dye knocked it out of the course or out of the park on this golf course. It's a course that, if you think about each hole location, there's a way to make 18 birdies. If you hit the fairway, there's always banks on the greens. It's not just stuff it, kind of play smart. And there's a way to have 18 birdie putts. But if you just miss those edges and you miss those hillsides that try to bank it towards the hole, oh boy, you got your hands cut or your work cut out for you.
And that's kind of over the years, Steve Scott, while we've seen so many different kinds of players win at this particular course. And for everybody that thinks, oh, this is automatically going to be Scotty Scheffler, RD's point, you can see guys here that maybe we're not thinking about that could be around come Sunday.
Well, there's going to be a lot of parity here, Coach. I mean, this is such a golf course where, number one, there's so much risk reward. Think about the architect, Pete Dye, and Alice Dye. She had her hands in it too, if not only for the island green there at 17, but throughout this golf course. There's so much risk reward, so many holes where you have to shape it right to left off the tee and left to right into the green. So many little pot bunkers, so many little spots you can get in. And this golf course has really been polished and softened over the years as well. When they opened this golf course in 1982, it was rugged. It was really cool. It had this sandy sort of swampy feature to it. But this golf course now, this is the crown jewel of the PGA Tour. This is the players. And there are a lot of players who can win. And we're going to dive into it in our picks this week. And we'll see who gets it done this week, but lots of parity on this golf course. This is not exactly that week where you think this guy could win or that guy could win. There are so many players that can win because the golf course is not long, and there's so much variety. There's so much danger out there too that the Scotty Schefflers of the world can get into and really ruin their chances.
Now, Eddie, you are most known. You're a great golfer, first and foremost, but you're also known as a world-long driver. If you're one of these longer hitters out there, how do you dial it back a little bit? Because there are, to what the guys are talking about, so many different holes that you got to play here and you got to land it at 270 or dial it back even a little bit more. From a long drive player perspective, how do you attack this course?
Yeah, I think especially number 16, right? If I was playing Sawgrass, I would try to bend a little 3-wood around the corner. Driver is too much for me there. So I think it's basically position A, position B. It's almost like position for me when I play there. So I can't hit a lot of drivers. I would love to, but I just can't. I'll hit trap draw 3-woods. I'll hit 2 irons. I'll hit some 4 irons, but it's all about putting yourself in position, hitting fairways at Sawgrass. And it's the greatest, most entertaining and exciting finish in golf. 16, 17, 18. If you have a 1, 2, 3, 4 shot lead, it's, make you pucker up a little bit coming down the last few holes. And, it doesn't really matter how big your lead is. You still have to pull the trigger and hit great shots coming home.
Well, speaking of puckering up, our defending champion this week, he doesn't ever seem to pucker up. And RD, Scotty Scheffler, you and I were on the call last week. He had one of the greatest rounds that you will ever see on any golf course anywhere, with a 6 under 66 on a day when everybody else was going backwards. Now he comes into this week as our defending champion, 20 top threes in the last 3 years, and the number 1 player in the world How dominant from what you're seeing is Scotty Scheffler right now?
Well, how dominant is it going to be if the putter remains even close to what it was later in the week? So we followed him right off the jump on Thursday, Coach, and I was out there with him with my own two eyes, and he hit some garbage putts the first few holes. He really did. It wasn't good. You know, all the eyes were on this new putter, the new mallet style putter, the spider putter. But guess what? He slowly got into it, and he slowly gained confidence in it, and he never hits it bad. I know Steve Scott's a historian far more than I know he loves the history of the sport. If he could, he would jump through the computer when I say this right now. There's a chance Scheffler hits it better than Ben Hogan. It's insane how good he is. He does not miss a shot. He does not miss fairways. He does not have trouble with distance control. He hits shots like this. I played with Prime Tiger. Prime Tiger was the best iron player maybe of all time, just like Hogan. He wasn't as sexy as Scheffler with an iron because Tiger was much more economical, much more center of the greens, much more positioning, whereas Scheffler just goes foop, right by the hole on you so often. It is just awe-inspiring. And if he can putt the way he putted last week, this is going to be a long season for everybody else.
I think when you look at the footwork, which is atrocious, you have to put him in the all-time category because somehow he always seems to match the face with the ball, but the feet are going everywhere. And Steve Scott, this soundbite from CBS, we're not going to play it, but it's been making the rounds the last couple of days all over social media when Rory sat down out in LA and he said, listen, I would love to see Scotty Scheffler with a mallet putter, but if he does, then we might not basically have a chance. He put a mallet putter in the bag last week at the API, and he wins by multiple shots. Is this going to turn into a Scotty Scheffler from a couple of years ago when he won 4 times over the course of like 6 weeks?
What is Rory doing, right? That's a big question. I mean, why would you do that, Rory? No, I mean, look, I think that where Scotty Scheffler is with his putting right now, putting is so much confidence driven. When you start to see that ball go in the hole and you've got a putter that seems to fit what you're doing, and now you have the confidence, it's just going to be a very dangerous week for him and the rest of the season for sure, because he doesn't stray from the short stuff. He's always right where he needs to be. I mean, it was a very clinical final round last week at Bay Hill. And when he played smart, he played it 30 feet short of the hole. Let's say on the 15th hole of that final round, he just buried almost a 40-footer on him. So he has got so much confidence riding, and he can hit it super high and land it soft in these small, tiny quadrants that are at the TPC Sawgrass. But here's a stat for you on Scotty Scheffler that's mind-blowing when I looked at it. He is 1 full shot ahead of second place Tony Finau in strokes gained tee to green right now this season. And if you want to take another shot, I mean, from Tony Finau all the way a full shot down the rankings on the strokes gained tee to green, you have to go all the way to 43rd place. So there is this canyon right now between Scotty Scheffler and Tony Finau on the ball striking. And when his putting gets going, that hole looks like a peach basket. It's going to be really, really tough for everybody.
And there's very few players out there, Fast Eddie, that when they win, sometimes you see a lot of players, they'll win and they'll disappear for a month or 2 months because either A, the motivation, or B, they just had a really good week. Scotty's one of those rare cats that when he wins, he wants to win again. The stories are famous of all the money games he has back home, and he just wants to get in your pocket, and he wants to continue to get in your pocket. Well, this is a $4 million pocket he won last week, and again this week, an elevated field, elevated money. He's rare. Do you see the same thing?
Absolutely. He's special. I was fortunate enough I'm fortunate enough to be friends with Teddy Scott. We hung out last week, and he said, Eddie, look, there's not a day that goes by where he just absolutely flushes it. It is a stripe show every single day. And he said, we were on TrackMan at the indoor place I'm a member at. We were hitting balls. And he said, Eddie, we were just talking about Scotty and Randy Smith. And he said, Randy Smith loses a lot of money to Scotty because Randy will throw out a number, call it 178. And Scotty has a 2-yard variance on either side of that. So 176 to 180. And he basically hits it every single time, no matter what the number is. He's just an absolute ball striking machine. And, if he's somewhere around 0 strokes gained putting, it's going to be a long day for everyone else, like Robert and Steve said.
I think I've seen a video where he actually did that and he nailed it. Isn't that right? He nailed it.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Very, it's special.
It really, really is. All right. Well, all three of you are here, so we've got to get right into it, and we can discuss different players that are playing as we go through the picks and kind of weave it in and weave it out. By the way, I encourage you to hit that like button for me. It really helps the show grow as we continue to grow. Only 2 months in. It feels like we've been here for a really, really long time, but only a couple of months as we continue to grow and really get into the meat of the PGA Tour and the major season, which I cannot wait for. All right. Topic number 1, section number 1. This is right out of the gate. You don't have to waste any time. It's 18 holes, and then you can catch, but it's very difficult to do. We call this the first round leaders. And Eddie, I'm going to come to you because you have a guy that last week a lot of people thought he may have had a rules infraction by pressing that grass down. He didn't get a penalty, but I still wonder if maybe some of that's going to be sitting with Wyndham Clark this week.
Yeah, in my opinion, he should have gotten a penalty. We all know as professionals, as golfers, as tournament players, you can't push down the grass. You can only use the weight of the wedge or the 7-iron, whatever iron it is, and it should have been a penalty. The ball did oscillate. Can't really tell if it moved or not, but in my opinion, it should have been a penalty. I think it was the wrong call. But anyways, he got away with it. So, but I do like him this week. He's playing well outside of that little hiccup. Tied for second last week. Tough golf course. Won the AT&Ts. Riding good play and putter to the players. I mean, he putted great last week at Bay Hill. Made some bombs. And, he's about a shot and a half strokes gained putting at the tournament last week. And Minwoo Lee, I keep, he's about to just kind of break this. My feeling is he's about to break through plus 5,000. And he tied for 6th last year. I believe he had the lead or was close to the lead after the first or second round. And he played pretty solid. He almost won the Cognizant in Palm Beach, 2 wins and 3 other top 6 finishes worldwide the last 4.5 months. So he's got a few wins under his belt the last quarter, pretty much a little more than a quarter of a year. So he's right there. He's playing well. He's putting well. I was watching him hit some balls last week on the range, and he looks good. He's going to be tough.
So that's a great start. And last week, as we were calling and I'm going to come over to you, Steve, we were calling the API, and 2 of your guys, one is notoriously that when he wins, he gets off to really hot starts. And then Seabass, he's been playing really well, and I love the 2 numbers. Talk to me why you like these 2 guys.
Right. At Siwoo Kim at plus 6,000, I mean, you got to look at him as he's a past champ here, number 1. So he's got great vibes around this golf course. Both of these guys that I've picked for first round leaders, they're playing in the morning. I love the morning times all the time, as much as possible. Plus 6,000, really good number on Siwoo Kim. He's really strong in strokes gained tee to green. He's 4th last week, and strokes gained tee to green, 5th in strokes gained approach. And he was 11th in strokes gained in the final round. So he's got some on the putting green. So he's got some really good vibes going on with the putting that can really be lackluster at times, maybe to say the least. But I think first round for Siwoo, it doesn't provide as much pressure as a final round. So I like him there. Christian Bezuidenhout, really solid South African, really swinging the club really well. He's such a smooth swinger. Plus 9,000, I feel is pretty high for him. He was second place to Nick Dunlap back at the Amex a few weeks ago. Well, actually more than that. Now it was in January, and he took home the first place money that week because Nick Dunlap was an amateur, but he took home second place FedEx Cup points. So he's been playing very solid. He's a steady performer again in the morning. I feel like it's going to be real good for Seabez.
Yeah, and you really bring up a good point. If you're watching us for the first time, and a lot of golf tournaments, especially when you're playing on these surfaces in Florida, they can get bumpy over the course of a day. So on a first-round leader, you really like to look first and foremost at the morning tee times, because more times than not, that's who's going to be at the top of the leaderboard. Then you kind of have that flip onto Friday. So, RD, let me come to you, because Hideki last week, he got off to a red-hot start. and then was just kind of in the mix over the course of the weekend. But he's in tremendous form. Start with him.
Yeah, I kind of had a rough Sunday, but lots of people did. Bay Hill was brutal. So I'm kind of putting a lot of stock into what I saw last week and in spurts, and then a lot of players fell back off, but I'm going to have some definite recency bias on a couple of my picks. First off, Hideki, 62 at Genesis to finish off and win that tournament. JT Poston said the best round he has ever seen with his own 2 eyeballs. And then also, if you remember back, I know we don't want to remember back to 2019 when the tour shut down because of COVID for months and months. And it happened after the first round of this event. And who was leading at that point? Hideki Matsuyama. He's got some great rounds, some great vibes around TPC Sawgrass. So I like this pick at plus 5,000. Also plus 5,000, a guy that I did watch with my own 2 eyes last week. And man, Sammy can putt, is Sam Burns. He's a guy that's only shot over par 1 round all season long. It's in the span of 20, 22, 23 rounds, something like that. And the only over par round was Sunday at Bay Hill, which again was brutal. The wind turned around. It just blew in the exact opposite direction. And it didn't take much to go off there. And I kind of think that he is just loving the way his game feels right now. So again, plus 5,000, Sammy Burns.
And a lot of those long putts were made in the first round at the API. By the way, you really want to forget, you forgot the entire year that Hideki had a 63. It was 2020, not 2019.
Oh, I'm going with COVID-19 to night. See, it's in my head. It all gets jumbled up in there a lot. Just, yeah. You got to take bits of what I say and throw bits out.
I see some new names in the chat today, and here at Driving the Line or DTL Golf, we like to call this next one our bread and butter. Head-to-head matchups, because you got to go one-on-one. You're always asking us, how much do you put? You do a full unit size. Let's say you're a $100 bet. Well, this is where you would put your full $100 bet, because it's just one guy beating another guy, and my guys have been hot in this category this season. So, Fast Eddie, let me come over to you, and let's start, because I'm staring down the barrel of 2 different guys. One played well last week, finished in the top 5. The other one wasn't even there. Talk to me.
Yeah, well, not to toot my own horn, but I had my second win of the year with Mr. Scheffler, and my long shot almost win with Shane Lowry, finished second. So, look, Shane Lowry.
Can I plug that when we get to that section of the show?
Yeah, you can. All right. So, sorry, Coach. Look, Shane Lowry, he's been hot. I like to go with the hot player, plus 100 over Morikawa. Did not play well last week. You know, if you have it going a little crooked at Bay Hill, it's a long week. But, Shane, 2 top 4s, finished second last week. He's riding solid player all the way to this week. He plays tough golf course as well. I followed him and Hideki on Friday, and, he's hitting it well. He's rolling it well. So I love that pick, Lowry, plus 100 over Morikawa. One guy's hot, one guy's not. So, and then Doug Gim plus 100 over Brendan Todd. Doug Gim, last 4 starts, 4 top 16 finishes, playing solid. He missed a few cuts in a row, tied for 6th at the 2022 Players. Shots gained total 1 plus 1.16 at TPC, which is nothing to sneeze at. And then, he's definitely trending up. So I love Doug Gim over Brendan Todd plus 100.
TJ says Eddie gets 2 diamonds already, Coach, for picking a winner. But, guys, I think we need to vote as a team here at DTL Golf. Do you really get to brag when you pick the number 1 player in the world, the lowest odds on the board? Are you allowed to brag about that?
No, not really.
A year.
No.
I'll pick Scotty every week. He's my pick every week.
I'll brag 4 times a season. 4 times a season. Steve-O, let's come on over to you, because a lot of guys in the chat are agreeing with a lot of the head-to-heads that you guys already have. And I want you to start with this young cat. Do you think that a year ago, Ludwig Oberg, and it's Oberg, it was pounded into our heads last week. Do you think a year ago, when he was chopping it up in Lubbock, Texas, hitting on the range, that he could have ever imagined that 12 months later he'd be playing at TPC Sawgrass in the Players Championship?
Right. I mean, this is really some amazing stuff that Ludwig Oberg has done over the course of his very short time. And my 3 head-to-head matchups, and I'll start with that Oberg one over Patrick Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay just hasn't quite gotten it done over time. He's definitely better on the West Coast than he is out east, and he hasn't had a whole lot of success up to his standards around here. Oberg, he could be that one where he fire again. I love those guys who hit it super high, who can just land it on a dime. And Oberg is that guy. He can shape it both ways, although he likes to just hit it dead straight. But I definitely like him there. Keegan Bradley, also another guy. All my picks are at plus 100 this week as well, because it's just really a challenging place to really pick that guy who's going to get it done. But Keegan Bradley, I really like it more so because Eric Van Rooyen, it's really his 4th event in a row. Keegan's a lot more fresh, and this is a place you have to have all your mental faculties ready to go. Keegan's he played last week, but he didn't play before that since the Genesis in February, so he skipped both Mexico and the Cognizant. And I feel like he's another one of those guys, hits it nice and high, can land it soft in little spots where you need to put it out here at TPC Sawgrass. And then finally, Matthew Pavone over Bo Hostler. Pavone, so solid with his ball striking. His putting's in the top 10 as well. Bo Hostler, he can get a little wayward, likes to hit it more right to left than left to right. You have to be able to shape it both ways around this golf course. And Bo could just get a little loose with his iron. I'm actually kind of surprised at this number, honestly. I thought Pavone would be more of a favorite here, but and Pavone is 4th in proximity to the hole as well, which is so crucial around here. Give yourself lots of opportunities for birdies and get it done. Hostler can roll the ball really well, but Pavone, I think, is definitely a step up, and he's got one more tour event win than Hostler as well. So he's got that confidence factor riding pretty high.
Yeah, that happened at the Farmers Insurance. And here on DTL Golf, Steve, we prefer to use our French accents when saying certain names. Pavone!
Mathieu Pavone. Oui, oui.
There you go. See, now
just say cha-ching. Is cha-ching a French word?
Here. Here. By the way, my man Rick says, yeah, Steve, Keegan Bradley over Eric Van Rooyen. I'm tailing.
Yeah.
Damn right. Keegan's a
You got it, Rick. You got it. Bring it, Rick. I love it, Rick.
There you go. Now, RD, let me come over to you, because I had some good news and bad news last week, and different books do it a different way. You and I were on the Range show on the Golf Tip, because we can tout our own horns too, just like Fast Eddie can. I can drop networks, right? And my pick of the week was Justin Rose plus 400, the best Englishman, and he only had 3 dudes, so he only had to beat Matthew Fitzpatrick and Tommy Fleetwood. And as you and I were doing the broadcast, I'm looking down, I see Fleetwood plus 12. Well, he hit like 8,000 balls in the water on the 6th hole, so I was good there. But then Justin Rose shoots a 77 to tie Matthew Fitzpatrick on Friday. And some books will pay it or push it. I mean, in some books, that's a loss. Either way, I didn't feel good about it. But this week, I feel really good about you fading Tommy Fleetwood. Let's start there.
That, I think, and I saw Fast Eddie had the same one. That's my kind of lock of the week. Shane Lowry, obviously playing great. You know, the top finishes at Cognizant and API. Morikawa, we got to watch that, Coach. The 80 on Friday, 80. It wasn't like one hole where he made a 15. He was an empty saddle just wandering around that golf course. He played like garbage. Nothing was good. The driver out of bounds right off the get-go. The irons weren't good. The putter let him down, and he was down, Coach. His whole demeanor, his whole attitude was a beaten fella. And I know what that's like. All golfers know what that's like. But to me, this is the easiest pick of the week. I've also got another pick that I thought was pretty darn easy. Sam Burns over Tommy Fleetwood, the old Cadillac Fleetwood, also with an 80 on Friday. This season, Coach, Tommy's always been in his career a great driver of the ball, but he's 129 off the tee and 178 approach this week. This is fairway Jesus. He's supposed to hit all these fairways and to get greens. And that's why I picked him this week, because he finished top 10 at Genesis. I thought he was turning around. I picked him at Bay Hill, and he let me down. I'm afraid. It Burns, like I said, just played his butt off, made every putt. And he was on a streak of 4 straight top 10s going into that week. Also, I'm going back to the well with you, Justin Rose over Aaron Rai. He's not been playing well, and he doesn't have the greatest record here at this golf course, but last season tied for 6th, 19 tied for 8th. Aaron Rai's only played this tournament once. This is a golf course of subtleties. This is a golf course that you will never stop learning. And I think that just that edge of a guy of Justin Rose that's played so many different times and so many rounds there, as opposed to a guy that has played very few, I just kind of had to look that direction. And then the Jaeger bomb, Steven Jaeger over Kashmir Keith Mitchell. He had a rough weekend last weekend, but he's really been playing well. I think he's a new man. This is a guy I think I'm just going to ride a lot this year. I've got nothing against Keith Mitchell. He strikes it great. But Steven Jaeger is just a new reborn player, and I think that we're going to see a lot of good stuff from him. Already 2 third places this season.
Sometimes I feel like you like picking him just because that's your favorite cocktail of choice. Perhaps.
Oh, no, I've got that was college. I got a much more sophisticated palate now. I've gone to Jägermeister now. No, that was Jägermeister. Goldschlager now.
Oh God, God, makes me shudder. My 21st birthday, I kid you not, at the local bar in Kansas. It was like 10 years ago. And I remember the thing that took me down because they have drinks just lined up one after another for me. And I didn't even start drinking until I was almost 21 years old. And it was a Black Widow. And I don't know if you guys have ever had a Black Widow, but whoever invented the Black Widow should be taken out back. It was the nastiest black licorice tasting drink I've ever had. And I still shudder to this day. That's what that makes me think about. By the way, to add to your Steve Lowry pick, he's been in the final group 2 weeks in a row on Sunday.
Yep.
He is trending in the right direction. So if you don't have him in your finishing positions, or this guy is really trending. And last week, he had a horrible record. By the way, speaking of that, did you guys, Steve and Fast Eddie, did you see the hard-hitting journalistic ability of Robert Damron on PGA Tour Live when he was talking to Minwoo Lee? And he proceeded to tell Minwoo Lee how bad he had been playing over his years in his career at the API. Did anybody see that by chance?
No, all I saw was the Coke can in the rough.
That went viral. That was good.
Yeah.
But the word on the street is that Minwoo Lee filed a complaint and that he's no longer allowed to be interviewed by Robert Damron.
Yeah,
I don't know.
500 yards away. Restraining order.
It was actually very, very funny because you really aren't very good around. Oh, my God. You were so good last week. All right, let's get into section number 3. We call this finishing positions. And be very, very careful when you're talking about finishing positions. It can be as easy, and we saw it just last week. You can be sitting T12, have a T20 ticket, and all of a sudden you have a bogey double to finish, and all of a sudden it's T25, and you just lost that ticket. So be very, very careful. Eddie, let me come back to you because I see 2 guys. One, I think you'd be surprised at which one that I think you have correct. Which one do you think that I believe you have correct?
I think you think I have Hoagie.
Correct. That is correct, sir. Tell me what.
Yeah. Plus 240 DraftKings, top 20. Finished tied for 3rd last year. He's made 5 straight cuts. Him and Justin Thomas are the only 2 guys out of this field who have made all the cuts the last 5 years. His last 7 starts, 7 made cuts, 5 top 20s. He's basically my lock of the week. I love that pick. I was watching him last week. He played fairly well. It's just, Bay Hill just jump up and get you if you hit a couple of bad shots. But I love Tom Hoagie this week. He has good vibes at this place. He seems to play well here every year. And JT, what can I say? He's resurrected his game. Top 10 plus 250, tied for 12th last week. Again, him and Tom Hoagie, the only 2 guys to make the cut in the Players last 5 years. JT's last 9 events on the PGA Tour. He's got 8 top 12s, 5 top 6s, and 1 missed cut at the Genesis, I think, from playing with his buddy, Mr. Woods. It's got to be a little crazy mayhem out there with thousands of people following you and kind of lose it a little bit. But And, he obviously won the Players again in 2021. So good vibes. I like both those picks, but I love the Hoagie pick.
Mm-hmm.
JT, he's got to stop playing with Tiger in these events. I know he likes to, but he never plays well when he plays with Tiger.
He's babysitting
too much, right?
He's babysitting.
I think he tries too much. Now, last week he had a chance. He got it to 7 under par, and I thought maybe he's going to be the guy to challenge. It wouldn't have mattered because Scheffler got it to 15, but then he had a couple of bad swings, couple of bogeys, and went south. And that's how quickly on that golf course it can happen. Now, Steve Scott, let me come over to you, because one of your names in the finishing position, he was very quietly grinding it out at the API. And he's a guy that if you want to get behind an absolute killer when it comes to staring you in the eye, I love Russell Henley this week. And so do you. Let's start there.
Well, Russell Henley's a great pick there at plus 180. But before I get into this, I got a little database. I just want to share a couple nuggets with you about the Players. The Players is just that type of event. But if you're just a little advice when you're making your picks this week, and I've studied some of the tee to green numbers, strokes gained approach numbers, all the way back really in the ShotLink era, really from 2003 onward. And the highest correlation between the finishing positions and the winners and these certain categories are the strokes gained tee to green. 3 of the last 4 winners have led this category. Scotty Scheffler last year, Justin Thomas 3 years ago, and Rory McIlroy back in 2019. And then strokes gained approach is another key metric, way more than any of the other ones, way more than putting, way more than greens hit in regulation. The strokes gained approach, 14 of the last 19 were in the top 10 in this category. So when you're taking your picks this week, no matter whatever they are, and hopefully you pick ours, but this is where you really want to focus your game plan on. Tee to green, strokes gain approach. Those are the highest ones. But back to the top picks here. Russell Henley, top 20, plus 180. He's made 16 of the last 17 cuts with 5 top 10s, 11 out of 17 top 20s. This is a great type of golf course for him. You don't have to be a bomber here, but you're right. He can kind of stare you down, and he can really kind of take you to the cleaners if you're not looking. I think Russell Henley is due for a great finish, and he might even surprise us with a better than the top 20 this week. And then Tony Finau at plus 130. His strokes to gain tee to green and approach numbers are great. Second in tee to green, third in approach this season. The only reason why I'm not picking him any higher this year or this week is really his putting, 166th in putting. And he's just not getting it done on the greens. Did take last week off, didn't play the API, maybe just trying to refresh and not get totally bamboozled by the 4+ inch rough around there. But he's just not putting well enough to give me any higher look than a top 20. Siwoo Kim there at top 10, plus 400, past champion here, does a lot of things really, really well. His putting's gone back and forth between a long putter and the shorter putter. Again, just not quite getting it done on the greens. Did have a good final round last week in 11th in strokes gained on the greens. We know how strong he is in the ball striking category. He was top 5 in the 2 key categories last week. So I like player who's had some great experience here, and those are my picks for top 10 and top 20.
I got to be honest. I can see RD in the squares when you're not on the screen, and you started throwing all those numbers out, and like you could almost tell he needs an Advil. He's like, oh my god,
that's right. I'm not for everybody. I'm not for everybody.
Just because he's wearing the Charlie Brown shirt doesn't mean he's going to let Lucy pull that football away from him. This kid does not miss a beat. He does his homework.
You guys know that I love doing this at least once every show, and I believe it's apropos for this minute. Ladies and gentlemen, after all of that information, do you want to do the work?
Nope.
I think so. Steve Scott, you mentioned ShotLink. And me and RD, as we come to you for your finishing positions, RD, I've got to kind of, it's not like we hit the shot, but we had the luxury of being there. And you've probably seen more rounds at Bay Hill than any other person, certainly that I've ever been around. How great was the shot by Rory McIlroy off the tee at 10 where he went over the crowd, and for the first time since 2003, and you said probably ever, but that's when ShotLink started. The first one ever to drive the green at 10, and we got to call it.
Absolutely. Yeah, the ShotLink era, no one had ever put the ball on the putting green on 10 in one shot. And I said, and that was started in 2003, and I said, I am ShotLink around Bay Hill. It's never happened in the golf tournament.
You did say that.
Don't worry about it. Now, Fast Eddie in just a day out there may have done it. Tim Burke, another long drive champ, plays out there quite a bit. Maybe he did it at one point. But in the golf tournament itself, where, you know, the score mattered at that time, just has never happened. I was privileged and excited to be there to see it. And I did not want him to 3-putt it either, because he left that first one about 4 feet short.
He did. That was like 4 feet.
I was like, please.
Right? That, because you can't tell the story then. If you don't 2-putt that, you can't tell them to say apart.
Fast Eddie, I heard Fast Eddie hit that green last week with a 2-iron.
I've heard rumors of that too.
Yeah, little baby cut, Steve. Played a little cut.
Thin one out there. All right, RD, what do we got here?
You know, my picks, I picked them honestly because of their form and because of the numbers, the odds. Top 10 for Sam Burns, who's got 4 of the last 5 in the top 10, and barring a Bay Hill final round that got caught up to him, he would have had 5 in a row top 10 at plus 400. And Wyndham Clark, Mr. 60 at Pebble Beach, who's already got a win, who challenged at Bay Hill until Scotty Scheffler decided no one was going to challenge anymore and had enough of it. He was right there too. So look at the numbers. I picked the same 2 players. Just look at the numbers and what do you feel best with? Top 5s, I could see this going no problem. I like plus 800 and plus 850 on them. If you want to back off that just a little bit, I really love the 4-1, 4.5-1 odds for a top 10 on these 2 guys, who there are very, very few PGA Tour players playing as steady and as good as those 2 guys.
Now, I asked Eddie about the Wyndham Clark penalty that probably should have been. He also, and anybody can take this, he got a lot of criticism, because here's a cat who waited till he was almost 30 to really make his name on the PGA Tour. Did anybody see his audio on echoing what Rory McIlroy said? And he says, I wish there was a lot less tour cards out here, a lot less opportunity.
It was
I want to
garbage.
see the best against the best.
Yeah.
Stevie, I mean, what do you make of that?
When you get a player like that who was just outside the top 100 not too long ago, that's kind of tough to hear, I would think, from most of those players out there. You're going to look at them a little sideways, I think, in the locker room. But remember, those bridges you burn on the way up, you got to cross back over those bridges on the way down, and he may have to jump over those rivers before he's all said and done.
Man, anybody else have a take on that? I didn't like it, to be honest.
I didn't like it.
Agreed. Yeah, agree with those.
It's a bad look. You're not the commissioner of the tour. You're not the guy that makes the decision anyway. And Steve's right. He wasn't always in the top 100. You know, you're always sympathetic to your own cause. Hell, I'd like to have a tournament where I'm the only guy in the field, so I win every single week. That'd be unbelievable. But I'm not going to spew some bullshit like that's supposed to really happen. What he said there is just way off base, and it's anti what the tour has been over all these years. And let's be honest, you're looking at Memorial, you're looking at Genesis, you're looking at Arnold Palmer Invitational. I didn't hear anyone, not one person on the course, off the course, fans say, wow, it's good that we have a 69-man field and we're cutting to 50-something. Everyone wanted to see a little more golf out there. I don't like the idea of cutting people out.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, too. By the way, the commissioner did speak today. If you haven't seen his press conference, you can go to PGAtour.com and get the whole thing right there. Now, gentlemen, we have an issue. And I hate doing this. I really do. But Brent in the chat said, in order to brag on a dub, it's got to be at least 15-1. And I was willing to give Fast Eddie a pass until I look at this week. And I look down at the winner's position, and who do we see?
What do you want?
Plus 500. Are you serious right now?
You know what? You're asking me to pick a winner, and if Scotty Scheffler putts halfway decent, he's going to be right there on Sunday. I mean, how can you not pick him? It's almost like picking Tiger in the field. It's like, well, man, I think I better pick Tiger when he was in his prime. I mean, Scotty is on pace to break Tiger's season-long scoring average. So, I mean, he's a level, like I think Robert said it before, he's a full shot ahead of strokes gained, or was it stroke average for the year? I mean, he's just that much better than everybody. He's when I saw him hit that driver on 11 on Sunday, and that's a tough hole, and he absolutely pipes this driver right down the slot. And I'm like, well, he's got absolutely zero fear, and he is just he's in a different league right now. And you know what? I'm going to stick with him plus 500. What else do I have to say? He's a machine. Tiger-like numbers. He's comfortable. Just obviously coming off a huge win, dominating win at the API. He found his putter. 76% of his starts the last 2 years are top 10s. Like, really? Man. Like, that's mind-blowing. That's Tiger-esque. And it's just he's super, super impressive. And then Will Zalatoris plus 3,000. He's found his game finally. It's nice to see him playing well. He's a great guy, obviously a great player. Strokes gained 3.25, which is only second to Mr. Scheffler. So, last 3 starts, tied for 13th, tied for second, and tied for fourth. The rust is officially off of Willie Z's game. He, he's putting well. I gotta plug TPT shafts because they're one of my sponsors. He's using a lab putter with a TPT shaft in it. So, and I think he's found the wand for him. I think he's found the right putter. He looks good on 95% of his putts. I saw one kind of wiggle a little bit, but other than that, he's got his feet underneath him. He seems like he's healthy, and he's a super, super talented player. So I like Scotty and Will this week.
And the only thing he needs to start doing is actually finish the job, because at the Genesis, he was had a great weekend, won his caddy a car, but then, I mean, nobody could have stayed with Hideki, and maybe he's just a victim of bad luck, Steve, because Hideki shoots a 62, the final round at Genesis, and then Zalatoris is right there on Sunday this past week, and what does Scotty Scheffler do? He puts the gas pedal down and says, come get me. Nobody was going to get him with a final round 66, but Zalatoris had a couple of stumbling blocks on Saturday, and on Sunday, you clean those up. He would have been right there on Sunday, back up, because you love the same one that Eddie loves.
Well, Will Zalatoris, he has not peaked yet, and this would be a great week to find that peak. And all those things, that course at Bay Hill last week, and you all can attest to this because I know you were on the call. It was so challenging. You could hit a very good shot, not a great shot, but a very good shot that didn't get rewarded. You can make bogey or double bogey with a very good shot. And I think the golf course here at TPC Sawgrass is going to be just a fraction softer and just a little bit more playable around the greens. Will is he's ready to peak, I think, this week. His ball striking, we know it's there. His putting, you don't have to be a fantastic putter to win here, but I think he's got the goods to get it done at plus 3,000. And Rick, our man Rick in the chat, everybody in the chat loves Zalatoris too. So we got to put some a little sprinkle on Zalatoris this week for sure.
Yeah, I don't think that the rough's going to be as gnarly as last week when RD is still looking for his pop can out there. Still can't find it, completely ate it up. But RD, for some reason, you're making a statement this week, not picking a winner at all. Explain yourself.
I don't care how many people like Will Zalatoris, he's not going to win. Scotty Scheffler is going to win this golf tournament, and I hate 5-1 odds. So I think it's best. You don't have to make every bet every week. Sometimes you could just find one that you like. Sometimes you could find some that you don't like. You don't have to push this winners category. Scheffler's going to win this damn golf tournament, and I don't like 5-1s against such a big field. So yeah, I just putting my foot down. Not going to bet on the winners this week. I just don't think it's worth it. It's just the odds are so low, even though I know in my heart he's got this thing locked up.
We're not taking direct shots at you, Fast Eddie. I mean, they're not direct shots at you.
What?
But
people
know because I've been on record, so this isn't just today, that when I do give out picks, I never give out something less than plus 1,000 simply
know.
because, and you're right. I mean, Eddie, you're picking a winner. That's what we're supposed to do.
Right.
But when you're talking value on winners, that's a completely different discussion. And there's 143 other dudes that can beat this guy. And if he does, then that 5-1 ticket, you're like, why did I do that for just 5-1 odds when it's so difficult to do? So that's kind of the, how you break it down. So we're not teasing you, Eddie.
No, I know.
It's just, to be honest with you, if I don't bet plus 1,500, I will not bet a winner because it's so many good guys out there that can win on the PGA Tour. I mean, before last week, when was the last time that Scotty Scheffler had actually won a golf tournament?
A year ago. Players.
There you go. So, even though he's played well, you go through streaks, right? Yeah. You go through streaks. There you go. Good job, boys. Good job. All right. Now, I got a text earlier today, and it was from Fast Eddie, and I'm going to read it to you. He says, Coach, if you don't mind, if I can go first in the long shot category because I kind of own it. What? Can I finish reading this text message?
That's enough.
Well, why don't you show the text? Because I'd like to see it.
Are you saying that I'm lying to the good people in the DTL?
No, not you, Coach. No.
All right, but we will start with you. What do you like here, Eddie?
Yeah, I love Doug Gim plus 9,000 DraftKings. He's figured something out. Last 4 starts, 4 top 16 finishes. He tied for 6th again at the 2022 Players. He's trending up. He figured something out about a month ago. Last 30 days, he's been playing great. Plus 1.81 strokes gained total, which is 13th on the PGA Tour the last 30 days. Great value. A little sprinkle, a little love on Mr. Gim this week. And also Mr. English, Harris English, plus 9,000. He's one of the only a handful of guys over plus 2 shots gained total the last 30 days. I like to go 30 days just because these long shots, if they're starting to play well, usually a month, if they're starting to trend up, I like to pick them. That's 8th on tour, plus 2.02 strokes gained total. 8th on tour in that stretch. He's made 11 straight cuts and just a great value bet at plus 9,000. If you throw, $10, $20 on him, could be good. He grew up in the South. He's a Georgia guy, lives in Sea Island, not far from Ponte Vedra. So this is kind of somewhat of a home game for him, but his all-around game, and he's playing really, really solid. I like him this week.
This is a complete misprice. There's no universe he should be plus 9,000 the way he's playing golf right now. Mm-hmm. This is a great pick. And I would assume his top 5 and top 10 numbers reflect that. So we should probably sprinkle. I mean, this is a great pick by you.
All the way up.
Yeah.
5, 10, 20. Yep, for sure.
And he should not be the same as Doug Gim. No offense, Doug Gim. But Harris English is playing great golf. At the Genesis, played really good. And then last week, he played really good. Tough golf courses. All right. I love when my man Steve Scott wakes up in the morning. He says, I want to educate the people. I want to really educate, tell them what the numbers are all the way down the board. Steve, talk to me about Andrew Novak.
Andrew Novak's a guy that he has jumped on the leaderboards. He's been in the top 10 the last 3 weeks, surprisingly out of nowhere. And most people haven't heard of this guy, and neither have his books because he's at plus 15,000 for the outright winner this week. And but it just depends on what your flavor is, where you want to, kind of like you were just talking with Harris English there. I think wherever you're comfortable in throwing a couple dollars this way for Andrew Novak at any which way you want to go through it. I won't list all the numbers there, but the reason why really he's 4th in strokes gained approach this season, 6th in strokes gained total, 6th in strokes gained around the green, 8th in scrambling, which is huge around here because you need to have a great scrambling game around TPC Sawgrass as well. A lot of those players who have won this have been have scrambled their way to victory as well. He's 12th in proximity to the hole, and he doesn't have this game that's super flashy. He just kind of gets it done, gets it from point A to point B, and he's got these 3 top 10s. He's feeling really good about his game right now, and he's in good position to go ahead and do something kind of special this week. And it seems like every year there's a name that you wouldn't expect that would jump to the top of the board. Again, this golf course lends itself to an Andrew Novak just kind of coming out of nowhere and having a great finish. We've seen it time and time again around this venue. So whatever your flavor is, throw some love on Andrew Novak this week.
Man, you rarely do see a top 10 north of plus 1,000. For me, it's even worth that.
That's a great.
Now, we love here at DTL Golf to not get along. So Brent says, in attempt at peacemaking and problem solving, if you boost Scotty to 800 and bet the 100, you could theoretically bet 800 on others with the Scotty insurance. Yes, you could, Brent, unless that doesn't happen, and then all of a sudden you're out. Carry the one.
A lot.
That's a lot of math.
Yeah.
That's a lot of math. And right now, Robert's like, I don't even know what he just said. I understand what he's trying to say. If it's an automatic, but there's no automatics in golf, unless your name's Scotty Scheffler, apparently. All right. Thank you, Brent, there is boosts at different places, so shop around. All right, RD, let me come to you, because when you always take it really to heart and you really think through. And when you give me two different guys that are north of plus 10,000, that's truly long shotting it here on DTL Golf. What do you got?
It's definitely long shot material. That's what the headline is in this segment, long shots. And that's what we're going now. I love the idea with Harris English and Andrew Novak. If you don't like the win, that long shot, keep sprinkling down. Maybe look at that like Novak, 5-1 top 20. That is a beautiful odds, I think, right there for a guy playing that good. Do not do that with my picks. These are true long odds. They can do something because they are proven winners. They're both proven winners. Matt Kuchar has won on this golf course, but they can also kind of mess up bad the way they've been going. So that is what the long shot odds are. You look at Matt Kuchar plus 25,000. So this is a course of precision. And at his best, there were not many golfers more precise with driver, with fairway woods, with hybrids, with short irons than Matt Kuchar. He knows how to win if he somehow can get thrown into the mix and his game kicks in and he hangs around there Saturday, maybe a little Sunday. He knows how to close the show. He's won enough. And the exact same thing with Billy Horschel. He did tie for 9th at Cognizant, which means, hey, that felt pretty good. He's trending the right direction. He plays and practices at TPC Sawgrass. He lives in Jacksonville. He knows this course like the back of his hand. And again, another proven winner at plus 11,000. I went with long shots. These are long odds. That's what this is. I wouldn't, I might put a couple bucks, $5 just to think about that, just for something fun if they are in the mix on Sunday. But yeah, I wouldn't bet them down the line.
Boy, I tell you what, it's going to be a lot of fun. As Moach says, it will definitely be an enjoyable weekend watching golf. Quickly, as we wrap things up, I want a winning score from each one of you, because I'm sure you all have different ideas of what this week could be, the way that certain players are playing. So, Eddie, let's start with you. What do you think the winning score will be this week?
14 under. 4 par 5s. I like 14 under. And I think Mr. Scheffler's going to finish at 14 under. I mean, how can you pick against him? I mean, just the way he's playing, the way he played at API, how comfortable he was. I like 14 under. I think 12 under is going to be a playoff, but I like 14 to be the winner.
20 top threes in the last 3 years.
Unreal.
The next closest player has 11. He has 9 more top three. That's crazy. When you think about it, top threes. Scotty, talk to me.
Well, in the last 20 years, looking at the numbers here, 13 under par is the average winning score. So I think the weather is not going to be a factor this week. So we're going to go north of the average for sure. I'm going to guess, I think 16 under will be the number this week. 16.
RD, shaking your head.
Scotty shoots 68 4 times in a row, 16 under.
16,
Yep.
As long as he just keeps it in play, he's going to terrorize these par 5s. And man, it's going to be a lot of fun to see who has the game, who can figure it out. This will be the third of 3 straight weeks for Rory McIlroy to be playing. So there's a lot of storylines to check out. Of course, we'll have round-by-round picks on Thursday and Friday on the morning show at Driving the Line. Gentlemen, as always, appreciate the time. Enjoy the week, all right?
It was great.
All right.
Thank you, producer man, for my one shot. There's only one thing left to do, and I believe you all know. what that is. You got your marching orders. Let's take all these players' championship tickets, except Scotty Scheffler from Fast Eddie, straight to the pay window. Ryan Tucker, Lobo, Steve Scott, Fast Eddie Fernandes, my man RD, producer man, always behind the scenes, making the show look like $1 million. We grind for you so we can win with you. It's truly what we're all about right here at DTL Golf. Good luck.